Hello peeps, and welcome back to Brown Boy Reading. My name is Bibek, and today we are going to talk about my favorite books of 2018. So a few days ago, I uploaded my most disappointing reads of 2018. So I wanted to kind of counter that negativity with some positivity today by telling you guys all about my favorite books of 2018. So originally I wanted to make like top 10 book of 2018 list, but when I went to Goodreads and looked through all the books that I read last year, I ended up with a list of more than 10 books, like 25 to be exact. So rather than limit myself to some arbitrary number, I thought, hey, I'm just gonna go with it. We're gonna roll with it, basically. And since there are like 25 books to get through in this video, I'm not gonna go into very detail about what the books are about. However, I will leave a Goodreads link down below for all the books so that you guys can have a look at it. 25 is a lot of books to get through in one video, and I really don't want this video to be too long, so I'm just like trying to shorten it as much as possible, while at the same time giving you guys as much information as I can. So without any further ado, let's just begin. So the first book that we have is Every Day by David Levithan. This is my third David Levithan book that I've read so far, and I've loved his previous two that I read. I think it was Boy Meets Boy and Two Boys Kissing. Absolutely loved those one, and this one was no exception. Absolutely loved it. David Levithan killed it, honestly. The story follows our main character A, who is a being of indeterminate gender, who hops through bodies every day, like a new body every day, hence the title. But that unique concept is executed so well by Levithan. Like, he manages to put in aspects of identity, sexuality, gender. Like, it is such an interesting exploration of all these things. And the book's main theme, which is basically that you fall in love with what's on the inside rather than the physical appearance, is done so well based on the concept. And I know that there are like a couple of sequels out right now, but I don't think I'm gonna read them because I feel like the story is already self-sustained right now, and I kind of liked it where the story left off. But it is a really beautiful story. The next book is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Avatar series, like previously a trilogy but now a series, and the story follows our main character Freya, who is a human who gets wrapped up in fairy politics. The first book is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, so if that interests you, definitely give it a try. Now the second book has nothing to do with Beauty and the Beast, but it follows the story after the events of the first book, and I really like this one, like of all the three books that I read in the series, because I think the stakes get much higher and Freya goes through very important character development, and also I really like Rysand. This book was a typical YA fantasy, although it's not a YA, it's new adult. So there are sex scenes in this book, so be warned. I personally don't mind sex scenes, so it didn't bother me at all, but Sarah J. Maas does write cringy sex scenes, I would say, so be warned about that as well. But if you are looking for a fantasy story with a little bit of romance, a little bit of action, a really nice world building, definitely check out this book. The next book that we have is The Hate You Give by Angie. This is a story that was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it deals with our main character who encounters the death of her friend at the hands of a police officer. And it is such an important story. Honestly, I cannot stress this enough. This story is important. This story needs to be told, and I'm so glad Angie told it, because she does such a beautiful job of it. Like, her characters are so layered, and she does like try to bring out various viewpoints into the story so that it's not just like a stagnant one point of view story. We do hear about so many experiences, we hear about so many backgrounds, and I think that's what makes the story so well-rounded and so beautiful. I love books that are thought-provoking and challenge me in my perception of things, and this book definitely did that. And it also educated me in various topics and things and experiences that I didn't know about. So I recommend this book to each and every one of you. If you haven't read it, do pick it up and read it. This will be worth your time. The next book is actually the only non-fiction book that I read last year, and it's important in the same vein as The Hate You Give. It's Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This is Trevor Noah's autobiography of his life in South Africa during the apartheid. But more than that, it is a family saga of his family, and it is so beautifully written. I actually listened to this book in audiobook, and if you get a chance, I would suggest you listen to the audiobook because Trevor Noah actually narrates it, and he does a beautiful job of it. And coming from a South Asian background, I honestly had no idea what apartheid was or its effect in people, but reading this book was so educational that, you know, I have been recommending this book to all my friends. Like, this book is important. Trevor Noah is a brilliant writer, he's a brilliant comedian, and this book kind of infuses his comedic talent with something much more serious and real. So once again, if you haven't read it, do give it a shot. Next one on the list is Far From a Tree by Robin Benway. This book follows 3 siblings who were separated at birth. Some of them were adopted into families while others ended up in the foster care system. It is a beautiful family saga that explores the idea of what it means to be a family and the right and the wrong in terms of adoption, like whether giving away a child is a good thing or not. And I think Robin Benway does a really beautiful job. This is a very emotional yet feel-good story. So if you are in a mood for a contemporary story that, you know, that feels real and that deals with real life issues, Far From a Tree is the one. The next 2 books are part of a duology. They are Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Libba. For the longest time, I didn't want to read this book because the hype was just too much. I felt like if I read this book, I would actually end up not liking it. But the opposite happened when I finally picked it up. I absolutely love this book. Like, this book had the perfect amount of everything. A brilliant world building, an awesome plot, and even awesome and spectacular characters that are so multi-layered. Like, our main characters aren't exactly good guys, but you root for them. Throughout the story, you want these characters to succeed because you love them so much. Libba did such an awesome job with these 2 duologies, and after reading this one, I am very much interested in her Grisha trilogy, and also looking forward to other books that are coming out set in this universe. If you love high stories, if you love a fantasy world, and if you love awesome characters, Six of Crows. The next book was probably one of the most hyped books of 2018. It's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And I have to say, this book does live up to the hype. However, I will say that the beginning of the book kind of dragged along. Like, I wanted things to pick up, but when things picked up, oh boy, did they pick up. Things get interesting and intense really very fast. If you love the world of fairies and you love characters that you love to hate and you love a good political intrigue, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black delivers them all. So the next 2 books are part of another duology. It's The Monsters of Verity duology by Victoria Schwab, and the books are The Savage Song and Our Dog Duet. The thing that drew me into this book was the concept. It's set in a world where, you know, all the bad things that humans do kind of manifests into various beings. And one of our main characters is a human, while the other one is one of those beings. And the story follows these 2 characters as they fight for their survival and the survival of their world. The more time you spend in this world and the more time you spend with these characters, you just love them more and more. Like, the concept is executed so well, but more than the concept itself, I feel like the strongest point for this book are the characters. I only remember August right now. I forgot the name of the female main character, but both of them are amazing. And this book will make you cry. The ending will make you cry. It is epic, it is interesting, and it is just amazing story all around. The next book on the list is Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. This book is a companion sequel to the first book, Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, and follows Leah. If you, like me, loved Simon, then you will love this book. Not only do we get to meet our favorite characters from the first book, but Leah's story in this book is just so beautiful and it's so well done. This book deals with identity, body positivity, and it is a coming of age story, so you have that. And also it is funny. Like, Becky Albertalli has a really good sense of humor, and similar to Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, this book just has all the right mixture for a good book. Honestly, like, Becky Albertalli books are like a warm hot chocolate in a cold day. They just fill you up with so much warmth inside, you can't help but love them. The next book is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This book was a reread for me. When I read it the first time, it became an instant favorite, and when I read it the second time, it became a favorite again. I love this story, and I loved Simon and Baz so much. I honestly cannot describe it in words. It's just this warm, happy feeling that I get every time I revisit this world. And I am so looking forward to Wayward Son, by the way. Like, I'm so glad they changed the date from 2020 to 2019, because one less year to wait. Awesome. But honestly, guys, like, I know Carry On is kind of like a Harry Potter fanfic, and that might put some people off, but Rainbow Rowell does such a fantastic job of creating this beautiful, amazing, and such endearing characters that, you just love them. I love Simon and Baz. I want them to be happy forever and ever and ever, and I cannot wait for Wayward Son. The next one is the third book in the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. It's The Monsters of Men. I read the first book in 2017, and I read The Ask and the Answer and Monsters of Men in 2018. But my favorite of the three books has to be Monsters of Men. This book was just epic. And not just epic in a sense that, you know, they're like epic fight scenes and stuff, which there are, but just the kind of characters and storyline that we got, oof, that was so good. I wish I could tell you things, but I can't because spoilers, and I want you guys to enjoy the book as much as I did when you read it, without any spoilers. But this book it made me feel things. It gave me so many interesting multi-layered characters. Like, in this book, like, it's a very fine line between a good guy and a bad guy, and I love that. I love when characters have conflicting feelings and the whole situation in itself is very conflicting, and you as a reader don't know which side you stand on. And Monsters of Men does this beautifully, and the conclusion to the series is just epic. Now, the next three books are part of a quartet. It's the An Ember in the Ashes series by Thapa. The fourth book is coming out this year, I think. But I reread the first book and I read the second and the third book in 2018, and oh my god, things are going down, people. This book just went from being a very amazing story to being an epic story by the end of Prepare the Gate. Thapa knows her shit. We get so much more information on this world, and our characters Leah, Helena, and Elias, they all just go on such important journey. It is just, and I feel like that's gonna be my reaction for most of the books in this videos. I'm just gonna be like, it is just, and just like, you know, like leave it blank, because they're so hard to put into words. Like, I want to go into spoilers and talk to you about like specific scenes and stuff, but I can't do that. Just know that the fact that I'm having such a hard time putting my feelings into words means that these books touched me at a very deeper level. Like, not the story is epic, yes, but the characters are so much fun to read. The world is so much fun to explore, and I cannot wait for the conclusion of the series. Sabata here, I have a feeling she's gonna make us all cry by the end of the fourth book. And I'm ready for it. My body's ready for it. Bring it on. The next book is The Soldier Scoundrel by Cat Sebastian. This is one of the only 2 adult romance novels in my favorite list from 2018, even though I read more. If you don't know, and I'm pretty sure most of you don't because, you know, new channel and everything, but I love romance. I am a romance junkie. And I try to intermix my fantasy, sci-fi, thrillers with a dash of romance every now and then. The Soldier Scoundrel was a beautiful story. It's a male-on-male historical romance, so, you know, there's that. And I wanted to see how the author would execute such a premise in a historical setting. Like, I have read a lot of Regency romance. Like, I've read from the likes of Julie Quinn to Julie Garwood, some of my favorites. I was very intrigued to see how the author would handle a gay romance in a Regency setting. And I think she did a fantastic job. One of the cornerstones of a romance novel is that it has to have a happy ending. Like, that's a thing. Every romance novel has a happy ending, which is what makes romance novels different from a love story, but that's a topic for another video. I fell in love with both the guys. I fell in love with the setting of the world. I fell in love with some of the side characters who are so important and so supporting. I'm honestly very interested to see what Cat Sebastian does with this world, and if you guys are in the mood for a good, happy romance novel with, you know, sex thrown in there, there you go. While we're on the topic of romance, let me just mention my other favorite romance novel of 2018. It's The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This book was all the hype last year, and I have to say, it lives up to all of them. A+ for romance, A+ for representation, and A+ for making me fall in love with not just the guy, but the girl. This book follows our main character who is on the autism spectrum, and she hires a male escort to teach her about sex. And that's all you need to know. Just, you know, take it from there and watch yourself as you fall in love with these characters. Just amazing. Deserves all the hype and all the praise it got. Next one is a short story, which is kind of weird because I don't think normally people put short stories in their favorite list, but I read this book and absolutely loved it. It is very short, but it packs a hell of a punch, and in these very few pages, the author manages to create such strong character dynamic that I'm just like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be shocked because I read the author's other works, and I'm pretty sure some of you have too, and it is amazing. Like, they're all her other books are amazing, and so is the short story. And I won't keep you in mystery for long, and the book is Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm pretty sure most of you know Taylor Jenkins Reid from the book that became really popular, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Love that book, definitely recommend it. But if you're in the mood for something short, then do give Evidence of the Affair a try. It's a really good introduction to the capability that Taylor Jenkins Reid has. She's an amazing author. Even in these short few pages, she manages to create a very interesting story. I don't know how this woman does it, but she does it. And I'm really looking forward to more of her books. The next book is Just One Year by Gayle Forman. This is a companion sequel to Just One Day by Gayle Forman, and it follows the story from the guy's POV. I can't say a lot without giving anything away about this book, but the first book follows our main character on a trip to Europe where she meets this guy and, you know, goes on a kind of a adventure with him. If you love Just One Day, do read Just One Year, because it gives a fuller picture to the events of the first book, and also read Just One Night, the short novella that kind of completes this entire story, because Gayle Forman does write very interesting, very heartfelt stories, and this book had all the feels. I loved it. I liked knowing what happened away from the events of the first book. Like, it gives you a very interesting perspective of how things were going, and Just One Night kind of completes the story in a nice little bow, and you just feel happy after reading the story. The next book is Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. If you are in the mood for a silly, funny, laugh out loud, yet really interesting story, give Beauty Queens a try, because I loved it. Like, going into it, I knew the premise that it was about a bunch of beauty queens that, whose plane crash landed on a deserted island and they have to learn how to survive. But the story is so much more than that. It reminded me of a lot of very cheesy, stupid Bollywood movies that I grew up watching. Okay, this book is kind of stupid when you think about it, but it's just so stupid, and it knows it, and it has fun with it. And that's what I love about this book. Like, it knows what it is, and it kind of runs with it. And also the author kind of managed to infuse like some feminist ideas into this book, and I just loved it. It is hands down the most fun I've had reading in 2018. The shenanigans that these characters get into. Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. Just fun all around. The next book is the one that broke my heart, broke it again, and then pieced it back together somehow and made me feel complete and whole and just happy. It is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. We all know Laini Taylor is a master with words. Like, her prose are just beautiful. If you know how Strange the Dreamer ends, I'm pretty sure a lot of us were heartbroken and we wanted to see where the story takes us. Well, the story went to places you never expected, and she takes her characters through this journey where you're literally holding your breath to see what happens next, to find out what happens next. And just like Monsters of Men, the characters in these books are multi-layered. And I love to read about multi-layered characters with motivations that are so understandable that like you would have done the same thing that they did had you been in the situation. This book will break you, and then this book will put you back together whole, but not the same, because you come out of this experience a complete new person with a whole new understanding, and that's just amazing for what a book can do. The next book is The Lady's Guide to Petticoat and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. I loved The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, so when I found out that there was going to be a second book from Felicity's point of view, I was all for it. And Mackenzie Lee did not disappoint. While I loved the first book, I think I love this one a little bit more, because while I love Percy and Monty, Felicity just stole my heart. Her character arc in this book is really interesting. She grows so much as a person, and the story itself is just as adventurous and whimsical as the first one. So if you loved the first book, you will not be disappointed with this one. The next book on the list is Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. I love reading about books that kind of challenge religion while at the same time asserting the simple fact that, belief is important. This book did that. This book follows our main character, who is an atheist who has to go to a Catholic school, where he meets this colorful cast of characters who are interesting in their own ways, who challenge and accept religion in their own ways. And it was so much fun reading this story, because I think it does give you a very interesting perspective on things. So I would definitely recommend you read it if you love reading books about religion and people who may or may not believe in religion, because I think this book kind of handles it, and there's a nice balance to a belief system and also to being an atheist. I'm not overly religious myself, so this book was like the perfect balance of both for me, and I just loved it. The last book on this list is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. You all know this book was coming. Come on. How can I not put this book on this list? Like, I think it's like mandatory that every year there has to be a Cassandra Clare book on the favorite list. At least for me. The conclusion to the Dark Artifices trilogy, this book just was epic. I think I've used the word epic a lot in this review. Whatever. While I'm not a big fan of Julian and Emma, I think they do have a very interesting story arc in this one, and I kind of like them for the most part. But my favorites, as always, were the Blackthorn siblings, like the rest of them, and all the other side characters that we meet, and also, of course, Magnus Bane and Alec. Love them. This book just had it all. Like, we had diverse character, which I'm loving Cassandra Clare for, and an epic story and a conclusion to this trilogy, while at the same time setting up for a very interesting final series. Because I think the series that's gonna be a follow-up of this one, following Ty, is going to be the end of the Shadowhunter stories for the time being. Really looking forward to that because things happen. Shit goes down on this one, and things happen and things get very interesting, and I can't tell you about any of it because spoilers. But yes, Cassandra Clare does it again. So that was all the books that I absolutely loved in 2018. Epic books, epic stories, epic characters, just overall epic. I think I'm embracing the word epic now because I've said it so much in this review. It was epic. 2018 was an epic year, and I hope 2019 goes just as well. Do let me know down below what you thought about any of the books that I mentioned today, if you read them, and also what are some of your favorite books of 2018? I want to know, and I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye for now.